So this is a letter to God written by G.L. Fontes. Okay, G.L. Fontes is the writer of this chapter. You have already studied this chapter, little bit introduction about it. This is the story, A Letter to God by G.L. Fontes, revolves around the idea of having unquestionable belief in something or someone. The story is set in a Latin American country. Lencho, the farmer, who is the protagonist means the main character of the story, writes a letter to God seeking help from the Almighty after discovering his entire crop yield destroyed by a devastating hailstorm. Although his wishes get fulfilled partially, if not completely, he is ungrateful in the end and questions the honesty and modesty of the postmasters who actually helped him, okay, helped him with money anonymously in the name of God. So what we find here, this is the gist of the story. We find there is a man called Lencho, he's a farmer, and his crops were destroyed by the hailstorm. So he thought that he and his family members, they were all going to starve that year. So he needed some money. So he had unquestionable belief in God. So he wrote a letter. He wanted some help from God. So he wrote a letter to God. And finally, he posted that letter in the post office. And then you know what happened? The letter did not reach God, but the postmaster, they read that letter and they were shocked to see this, the belief, the extreme belief of this man, a faith in God. And they tried to help him. But he was not grateful. He was not grateful at the end. That's a little bit introduction about the chapter. Now to see the summary, what is there in the chapter. Lencho the farmer lived on the only house that was there on the top of a hill. So on the top of a hill there was a only house in which Lencho lived with his family. The hill was low-heighted. It was not very high hill, but low-heighted hill. From there, a river and a ready-to-harvest cornfield were visible. So from there, they could see a river was flowing, and also nearby, there was a cornfield. The field belonged to Lencho, and he had the utmost confidence that the harvest would reap great profits. So now he was expecting a good crop this year, and he thought that he was going to get a good profit. The only thing that he awaited was rainfall. But so for a good crop, he needed a good rainfall. So he was waiting for a rainfall. In this hope, he spent an entire morning gazing at the sky in the northeast direction from where a drizzle was expected to shower on his field. So the whole morning he was looking at the sky, he was gazing at the sky. He was expecting that there would be some rainfall, some drizzling, and which will be good for his crops. Okay. The man here means Lencho, while looking at the sky, confidently tells his wife that they are going to have a rain shower, to which the lady replies by saying, only if everything happens as they hope and expect. So the man, he shares his feeling with his wife. Man here is Lencho. So if he shares his feeling with his wife, he says that today, I think today it is going to rain. And the wife says, okay, if it will be good, okay, it will be very good if it rains today. Their elder children were working at the field and the younger ones were playing near the house when Lencho's wife calls everyone for dinner. So the elder son, they were working in the field. And the younger ones, the small children, they were playing around the house. So now it was dinner time, so mother calls them all. It is during that time, drops of rain begin to fall. So now the rain started. When they were inside the house, now the rain started. Hereby proving the farmer's prediction to be true. So now Lencho says, see, I had said today it is going to rain. And now you see the rain has already started. The wind was pleasant and clouds could be seen approaching from the northeast sky. So now the wind started blowing and the wind was very, very pleasant. And the clouds also you could see approaching from the northeast sky. Lencho goes out of the house to take pleasure in feeling the droplets on his body. So now Lencho, he wanted to enjoy the rain. So he goes out to feel the droplets on his body. He refers to the drizzle as coins, large droplets being equivalent to 10 cents and the smaller ones 5 cents. So when the raindrops fell, so he considered those droplets as coins. He said the bigger drops were considered as 10 cents and the smaller drops were considered as 5 cents. He says so because these raindrops would ensure a good crop which would eventually get them a lot of money. So why he considers these raindrops as coins? Because he knew that because of this rainfall, he is going to have a good crop this year, a bumper crop this year, and that will give him a lot of money. And that's why he considers these raindrops as coins. On seeing everything go as expected, Lencho reflected upon the field and the flowers covered with droplets, which seemed as if they were wrapped in a curtain. So when he saw that as he had expected, everything was going according to the plan, according to he had thought. And then what happened? He was very, very happy. Unexpectedly, a strong wind started blowing, leading to a hailstorm. Now what happens? Suddenly, now the soft wind changed into a strong wind. The strong wind started blowing and the hailstorm came now. Satirically, the writer refers to these pellets of frozen rain as new silver coins. When the frozen rains or the pellets fell down, then the writer, he refers it as a new silver coins. Now earlier, Lencho was referring to the raindrops as coins, but now here satirically, actually, the writer considers these frozen drops as silver coins. The innocent boy became playful and went out in the rain to play and collect these hailstones which looked like frozen pearls. So now the small boys, the younger children, they went out in the rainfall, they started collecting those hailstones and because they were enjoying it, okay, and so they started collecting them and playing with them. The farmer now starts worrying and hopes that the storm get over quickly. Now Lencho became a little worried when he saw this hailstorm. He knew that this hailstorm, if it continues, it is going to destroy his crops. So he became a little worried quickly, which to his utmost disappointment didn't. So he thought that this hailstorm was going to stop, but that did not happen. The hailstorm continued. The hailstones covered the entire valley, including the house, garden, hillside, and the cornfield. So now, everywhere it was covered with the hailstone, even the house, garden, hillside, even the cornfield. The whole field was covered with the hailstorm. It made everything look so white that it seemed as if it was covered in salt. So everywhere it was looking white, okay? And it seemed that the whole, everything was covered with salt, okay? Covered with salt. Lencho became stressed. He became stressed and disappointed as everything went against the plan. So now he became very sad, very stressed, disappointed, because as he had thought, that did not happen. Okay, it went against his plan. He had thought that this year he was going to have a bumper crop, he was going to have a good crop, and he will get a lot of money. But that did not happen. The trees had shed their leaves, corns were smashed, and the flowers had also fallen from their plants. Now the whole field was covered with hailstones, and the trees were also covered, flowers were covered, and the hailstone had smashed the plants, okay, the crops. While standing in the withered fields, he conveyed his dismay and sorrow to his sons by commenting that the effect of the storm proved to be worse than that of crop, destroying insects. So now he was very sad, and he said to his sons, see, now everything is destroyed. Now this havoc has been caused by this hailstorm. Even the insects could not destroy the crop fully, but this hailstorm has destroyed it completely. All their hard work had gone in vain. So till now, whatever hard work they had done, everything had become a waste. Okay, there was no use. Everything had gone in vain. He felt helpless, as no corn had been left, and feared that they might have to starve this time. So now he was frightened. He was a little scared. He was feared that this year they were going to starve, because now they will not have the crops, and they may have to starve. They may have to starve. Even after everything had gone southwards here means everything had gone wrong, the family still had hope in their hearts of hearts. But still they had some hope. They had faith in the Almighty even after nothing was left. So they had a strong belief, strong faith in God. They thought if there is no help from anywhere, they are going to get help from God. They gave each other support and recalled a saying which assured that no one ever dies of starvation. So all the family members, they were trying to console each other. They were telling that, okay, if there is no crops, but we will not die, because God will never allow His people to die, because God will look after us, because no one is going to die of starvation. So they were just trying to console each other. Lencho spent his entire night thinking of the only option left, and that was to seek the help of God, who, he had been informed, has its eyes and ears everywhere. So from his childhood, Lencho had always heard that God sees everything, God hears everything, and now he had only faith in God. But he thought that no one was going to help. But certainly God will help him, because he has seen everything. He has heard everything. He thought of writing a letter to God, conveying his grievances. So now he thought that he should write a letter to God, and he should convey him that now he is suffering. So the God should come forward to help him. Despite spending all these years working at the farm, he still knew how to write. Though he was a farmer, and for many years he had been farming in the fields, but still he was little educated. He knew how to write. So he knew how to write. So he started writing on the Sunday morning and thought of mailing it himself by going to the town. So he started writing a letter. So he wrote a letter, and he thought that he would go to the town and he would post it by himself. In this letter to God, he communicated his poverty-stricken situation and mentioned that he needed 100 pesos to regenerate the crops, along with surviving until they are ready to harvest. So what did he write in the letter? He requested God that God should send him 100 pesos so that he can cultivate again, and he can survive, or his family members could survive for some time. So he needed 100 pesos for that. On the envelope, he wrote to God. Then, that means he addressed it to God, and then at the post office, placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it in the mailbox. So he went to the post office, he addressed it to God, he bought a stamp, he pasted it on the envelope, and then he put it in the mailbox. A postman who was also an employee of the post office, noticed Lencho's letter and showed it to the postmaster. So the postman, he saw that letter and he brought this letter and put it before the postmaster. They both felt amused. They felt very amused, but the postmaster, fat and friendly, immediately developed a sense of seriousness. So in the beginning, they thought of laughing. Okay, how could a man write a letter to God? Because there is no address of God. You cannot send a letter to God. So they were quite amused. But suddenly, the postmaster became a little serious. He was astounded at the amount of faith Lencho had in God and wished he had the same. So now he was shocked. He was surprised to see a poor man having a strong belief, a strong faith in God. Okay, unshakable faith in God. So he thought that he could also have the same faith like Lencho had in God. Now, with good intentions, the postmaster read the letter and thought of replying to it so as to keep the writer's belief intact. So now, the postmaster thought, I must reply this letter. Why? Not because he wanted to help him, but just to keep his faith intact in God, he thought of replying the letter. But the writer expected the reply in a different way. The writer here means Lencho. So he expected the reply in a different way. That could not be fulfilled with a pen, paper and morals. So just if you write some lines, then that is not going to fulfill the needs of the farmer. The farmer had demanded for 100 pesos. So what was his demand? He had demanded for 100 pesos. The postmaster, along with his colleagues and a few friends who were more than willing to donate for a good cause, collected a pool of money to help Lencho. So now they asked some donations from their colleagues, and the other postmasters also they contributed. They contributed for this good cause and they collected some money for Lencho. Despite his best efforts, he was only able to collect an amount not more than half of what was required. So now he made all his efforts to collect some good amount, but still he was able to collect only half of the amount what Lencho had asked for. He then addressed it to Lencho along with a letter which was undersigned by God. So now he replied Lencho's letter and he also signed as God, so that Lencho will think that God had replied his letter. Next Sunday, Lencho came looking for the reply a bit earlier than expected. Now Lencho came, he thought that now God must have replied to his letter, so he came little earlier to the post office. The postman handed him the letter, waiting to see him joyful and surprised, while the postmaster, feeling satisfied, oversaw it from his office. Now, when he came to the post office, the postmaster was very joyful. He gave or handed him the letter, and the postmaster was looking from his window. He wanted to see the expression of Lencho after getting the money, how he was feeling. So on the contrary, the farmer got disheartened on seeing that the money was less than what he had asked for. But that did not happen. On the contrary, that happened just opposite. The farmer was not happy at all. He was disheartened to see that money was less than what he had asked for. His faith is still undeterred, and he believed that God cannot make such a mistake. But you can see here, this man's faith is still undeterred. He had a very, very strong belief that God cannot make mistake. There must be something wrong. Okay? God cannot make mistake. And then what happens? On being disappointed, he started looking for ink and paper to write to God again. So he once again started looking for pen and paper so that he could write another letter to God. While writing, his eyebrows got curled out of the concentration with which he was drafting a new request. So he was very concentrated and he was writing a new letter to God. On completing his, affixed it with a stamp. So once again he bought a stamp and he fixed it, he pasted it on the envelope. As soon as he dropped it into the mailbox, the postmaster took it out to read it and he dropped that letter in the mailbox. So as he had gone, immediately the postmaster went and took out that envelope to read what he had written. Lencho complained that he had only received 70 pesos and he is really in need of the remaining amount. So what did he write there? He wrote that, God, you have sent me only 70 pesos. I have received only 70 pesos, but I need 100 pesos. So I need the remaining amount. He doubted the integrity and honesty of the post office employees and suggested that the money should not be sent via post. So now he doubted the honesty of the employees. And he said, I think you might have sent 100 pesos, but these people, this post office employees, they are not honest and they have stolen 30 pesos and they have given me only 70 pesos. So next time when you send those remaining 30 pesos, you should not send it via post, because he doubted that the staff at the post office must have stolen the missing amount. So he thought that the staff at the post office, they might have taken his money and they might have stolen his money. Okay, so that's the end of this chapter here. I think you have understood this chapter.